A late summer trade comes through, some new jersey projections, and answering your Preds questions for the final time.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Jack Williams. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season. A little bit of slowness around here on Monday as we've hit a few hot topics, including a trade that has sent Sutter Muzzatti to the Red Wings, the announcement of the NHL's hometown remix, and a very small final version of the Locked On Predators Mailbag. If you guys have not been in the know, just want to let you guys know before. Don't want anyone to get blindsided at all. The 26th on Wednesday will be my final episode hosting the Locked On Predators podcast. More into that on Wednesday. But until then, we will talk about the hot button topics that are going right now. In late August, there is nothing really going on in the Preds world, but we've dug out a few topics to chat about here. Mainly, Sutter Muzzatti, I hope I'm saying that right, is a Predators prospect selected in the 5th round of the 2023 NHL draft, has been traded to the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for future considerations. As I mentioned to you, this is a 5th rounder from the 2023 draft, drafted out of RPI. That is the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI. They play in the ECAC. NCAA, 6'6", 229 pounds. He spent the last 3 seasons in the NCAA, 2 with RPI. The previous year has been with Notre Dame. With the Fighting Irish, he had 37 games played, 13 goals, 19 assists for 32 points and 42 PIM, and will play with the Grand Rapids Griffins this fall in the AHL. This will be interesting to see what the Predators can get out of this when we're talking about those future considerations. Would that be, where would these picks land in the future drafts? Is this going to be a next year kind of thing? Is this something that's going to come down the line? It's going to be interesting to see how Detroit is going to want to package this and give this over to Nashville. I don't really think this is something you're going to get a lot back for, as a 5th rounder for 2023 has produced a lot as of recent, has really grown within the college game as well. But it's interesting to look into this trade a little bit more and seeing that, is it more so of McFarland wanting to move away from these Trotz build type of players, or is he wanting to expedite this process and the prospects a little bit more and kind of, hitting a timer on when these guys are ready to go and when time is worth investing into them and how long they should be investing into these prospects as well. We'll talk about this first part here and moving away from the Barry Trotz build of players that we had been seeing for so long. That is these bigger, taller players that, sometimes pan out and, will give you good minutes, can score and do just about everything. But for, the latter end for most of it has been, just these bigger guys that are going to rack up a bunch of penalties and, have a good bottom 6 impact, but not really seeing that expand beyond that. Another example of that would be Michael McCarron, who played here for a number of years before he wasn't drafted here, but was eventually sent to Minnesota and drafted there as well, a team that is utilizing him a little bit more. But that's a team with a little bit more balanced out, guys, having a lot more top heavy with the offense, with guys like Kirill Kaprizov leading that end. And then you have guys that Michael McCarron coming in on a successful team that can play that role. And that's where that comes in to be a little bit critically important. But when you're a bad team playing with a lot of these guys, it doesn't really work out. There isn't too much it can offer in that sense. And that's why, these Barry Trotz kind of guys really filled out in teams that are successful. Unfortunately, that is not the place that the Predators are in right now. Muzzatti is kind of in that category of, he's a forward that's absolutely developed for sure. 32 points in 37 games played is great. However, you're doing this in your 4th year of college. It kind of gets to a point where, especially with wanting to get away from what the Predators have been in the past, of wanting to get more out of your prospects and more out of guys now. And especially when we're talking about this 2023 class, that was 3 years ago, and wanting to have those prospects to be in a place to where they're getting regular AHL minutes, they're playing in their NHL regularly full time, and they're ready to take the next step up. We haven't really seen that a lot from Sutter Muzzatti, really. Again, he's proven he can score. He's taken a little bit to get going. He's a 5th rounder. So, This is still very good production from a fifth rounder, to say the least. But then you look at the rest of the 2023 class, and you have Matthew Wood, who, scored 30 points last year in his rookie year and is likely going to put a big number up this year. You have Tanner Molendyk, who there are projections that he will make the NHL team this year and is expected to have a big year being a role player just in general in Milwaukee. Then you have Felix Nielsen, another guy that's expected to step up. And then you have your gem in the 7th round. That's Aiden Fink, who is blasted beyond a lot of projections already. Expected to be, a great role player in Milwaukee and is expected to do a lot in Nashville. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but, compete for a roster spot this year in Nashville as well. So, I mean, that's the other part of it is, how long are you going to sit on some of these prospects before you say, you know what, we don't really have the time to wait on this. We don't really have the flexibility to wait on this now. It is time for us to move on. It's time for us to look for different places, and more importantly, for the player to figure out where you're going to be the most successful. And if there's teams that want to take you on and try to develop you a little bit more, Detroit has a really great developmental system here between, the Grand Rapids Griffins and the K-Wings. You have two really good, successful teams when we're talking about their leagues. The Griffins are very successful in the AHL. The K-Wings have been around forever. Very good ECHL teams. And the Red Wings have a very distinguished history too. Haven't been in the last few years, but this is a good place for Muzzatti, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, to really develop in that sense here. But as for this, I mean, this is a little bit of a surprise here, and just it's been dead silence for I don't know how many weeks at this point. It's going to be crickets, I think, for the next month, truly, a little bit less than that until training camp starts up on the 11th with the rookie showcase and so on into the preseason here. I wouldn't expect any more noise from the Predators office until we get into training camp, where we can start, talking about roster moves, the guys that, who are going to be sent back to Milwaukee and the juniors and college and what's so not, and, who's going to be competing for roster spots and what's so not. I think these next 2 weeks, next 2-3 weeks, whatever you want to call it, are going to be very, very quiet moving forward. And yeah, I would not expect any noise from here. I think this was a lot of a surprise, and it's not really one that's going to shake up a lot of spot. You have a 5th round prospect from 2023 that's getting dealt. I mean, this isn't going to really move the needle at all. It's news that's happening. It is what it is. It's something that's happened currently that we can talk about, especially in the middle of August when there is no hockey going on at all. So, I mean, this is what's kind of moving the needle here, specifically in talks about Nashville hockey and Predators hockey here. But he's on the way out, and a little bit more just about the prospect pool, and just you have a good pool out here in 2023. And I think, that might be part of it too. I don't really think it is, but of just this group is really raising the bar for what Nashville wants to do in the future. Again, guys like Wood, Molendyk, Fink, that are really leading this charge into the future of what the Predators can accomplish, and, opening the gateway for a lot of these new prospects coming in, and it's going to be exciting to see what a lot of these guys can do at camp, specifically with Matthew Wood, and trying to figure out what his role can be. A few episodes ago, we had Ann on and talking about, will he get the opportunity to play center here, especially with a lot more depth down the middle. With Tanner Molendyk, somebody who, was drafted and has a lot of, aspirations. A lot of people are talking highly upon him about what he's going to look like at this camp. Will he be able to break out? And if he doesn't get his chance off the bat in Nashville, will he be able to collaborate even more in Milwaukee this year? And then finally, with Aiden Fink, just him establishing himself, figuring out where his rhythm is a little bit more, and can he continue to move off of that momentum that he established once he came over from Penn State into Milwaukee, missing out on his opportunity in Nashville due to some visa issues. But will he continue to roll off that momentum and continue to compete? From what we saw in rookie camp, it didn't look like that, and just kind of blended in with everything else. But, this is a whole different show. You're not really coming off a season here. You got a lot of time to rest, a lot of time to train, coming back into camp here. And you're not just proving to showcase anything right now. You're proving that you want to make the roster full time. So a lot of questions here. But as of this news about Sutter Muzzatti, it is what it is. That is what is going on currently right now in Nashville. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about something that's a little bit more exciting. That is the Hometown Remix series that the NHL has just announced, and what a Predators jersey might look like. I know a lot of people are hoping for something specifically. Is that going to happen? We'll talk about that more coming up right after the break. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick on who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now's your chance to make your prediction before first pitch. One of my favorite parts of the baseball season is that every day brings fresh matchups and new storylines. Daily Dingers gives you another reason to pay attention before that first pitch. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. All right, so the NHL is announcing a new jersey series that kind of got leaked out, I believe, a few months ago, but it was officially announced on Wednesday. The NHL, so this is from the NHL's official press release about the Hometown Remix series. That is the NHL and Fanatics announced on Wednesday that the 2026-27 NHL season will introduce Hometown Remix, the first 32-team special edition uniform, apparel, and headwear program designed and developed by Fanatics since becoming the league's authentic on-ice uniform outfitter in 2024. Hometown Remix program is more than just authentic and replica jerseys, with a broad appeal and headwear collection available for all 32 teams. So I did not notice this. This is the first time that Fanatics will get a shot to design jerseys. A lot of the alternates that we've been seeing around the league, just about everything up and down, has been from Adidas and has been legacy from Adidas here. So, I mean, this is Fanatics' first chance. And, Fanatics has come under a lot of, criticism since they signed this contract, I think it is, with the NHL, and just the Fanatics. Let's be real. I mean, Fanatics jerseys aren't great. Their apparel is not the most quality, but this is their chance to win a lot of people back and go out and be creative here and bring on some alternate jerseys. It seems like nowadays alternate jerseys aren't anything really special. It seems like everybody gets an alternate jersey and it's coming out a lot. And you remember back in the day, back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, alternate jerseys were something that was special and something that came out very very, it was very limited and didn't come out for every team. Now it seems like most teams have 4 or 5 alternate jerseys here. But as we all know, Predators fans are asking for one jersey specifically. That is that navy blue jersey, blue and silver, with that silver Predators logo on it. They've been asking for it for a very long time, and they seemingly have gotten everything but that. They've gotten Winter Classic jerseys. You've gotten, I believe there was a Stadium Series jersey mixed up into that. And they don't wear any of these anymore, by the way, too. It's specifically these gold and white kits from here on out. So we don't really see these alternates anymore. The year that I've covered this team, I didn't remember this team wearing alternates at all. Maybe they wore the golds at away, or maybe they wore the whites at home. That was the biggest jump away they took from regular uniforms. But the alternates that the Predators wear just do not come up at all. And there's some teams too that will wear alternates that are over a decade old, and they will wear some old alternates into the mix here. And I think the Predators, I'm not sure if they have the choice to wear Winter Classic jerseys again or anything like that, but I have not seen them at all. But this navy jersey that the Predators fans are talking about over and over again, it's been a hot topic point of talking about it and wanting it over and over again. The big thing I come into this, and it's something y'all might not want to hear, is that I don't know if it's Hometown Remixy enough, and that it sounds like the NHL and Fanatics is really trying to get more, creative and artsy and new with this stuff, rather than we're going to do a throwback jersey. We're going to do a vintage series. Like, it doesn't really give off that vibe to me, especially since they said we want this to go with hats, and we want it to go with all different apparel with this, and it not just be jerseys. And that's kind of the part where I'm like, well, maybe it's not this. And I think people are just not going to be happy if it's not that. They're just going to be frustrated because they've been asking for this for a very long time. And I think you can get this navy hat with that logo available everywhere. And I think this is Fanatics' version of saying, hey, we want to do something new for this team. So we want to try different stuff out. And that's where it's kind of coming off to be like, well, maybe this won't happen. And, there was a leak that came out onto Reddit. I don't know if it's a leak. People love to say stuff no matter what, and said like, oh, well, the Predators color scheme is going to be navy. And I don't know how much truth is held to that. There's a lot that you see online, and it's a lot of people, sometimes just saying crap, or will just go into Chat GPT and say, generate this. And a lot of people will say that's what that is. And it's just not. I mean, I think I saw a, projection of what the Predators hometown remix jersey would look like. And it looks like the Predators regular gold jersey with like light blue accents on it. It did not look good. And I'm like, that would be very disappointing if that was it. But again, I kind of have a gut feeling this would go the other way from the Navy. And just looking at the examples of what, Predator fans, I shouldn't say Predator fans, but the Fanatics can go with in creativity terms. And that is, harping away on the Nashville flag. Two things: the Nashville flag and the Tennessee flag with the crest with the 3 stars. And that we see that everywhere in the Nashville flag's color schemes. I didn't know this till today, as I'm wearing a Nashville SC shirt, is that the city's flag is blue and yellow. And that's where that color, blue and gold. And that's where that color scheme comes from, as we've seen from Nashville SC, as we've seen from the Predators. I don't know if there's anybody else that wears a color scheme, but 2 big professional teams in the city wear it. And you kind of think about, are they going to go across this 3-star brand again? Or are they going to go a little bit different and go across the state flag for Tennessee and have it be red, white, and blue and work with that a little bit more? Another thing that, was worth talking about is the whole music sense of stuff, and that we haven't gotten like, yes, there's the neckline and the collar that has the keyboard on it, but we haven't really gotten like a music jersey yet. And just one that specifically says Music City, or like had a guitar on it, or I don't know, has like Dolly Parton or whatever on it. And we haven't really gotten that yet, or any sort of alluding to that, or any sort of gesture that anything. The only example I could pull up of this, and again, I only thought of it because I was at a Nashville SC game a few nights ago, was Nashville SC has their man in black kits, which are fully black and silver kits that they have. It's dedicated to Johnny Cash. I don't know if, and again, I live in Nashville. I don't know a lot about country music. I don't know if this is Johnny Cash song, or if this is a Johnny Cash album, or something about Johnny Cash. It's a Johnny Cash related series. The Predators could go that way in saying, hey, we want to, or not even the Predators, Fanatics can go that way and saying, hey, we want to create kits related to the culture of the city specifically. So we're going to do this Music City, and we're going to do it about this artist. That could be a different way. At the same time, in favor of the navy blue argument, the blue and the silver, there was one jersey that was allegedly leaked out of this, and it's the Panthers jersey, and it's full hot pink, and it has that stick and palm tree logo on it, which is a throwback logo. So that alludes a little bit more of these hometown remixes might be vintage mixed up with a different color scheme, or something that might look a little bit different. So we might get this navy jersey with a different type of logo on it. I know there's like a Robo Predator, kind of metallic Predator looking logo that can be slapped on there as well. That's where I think things could get mixed up and changed a little bit more. Now that I speak that out, that seems like it might be a little bit more towards a hometown remix theme of taking something that's been established there for a very long time, a logo that's been throughout history and seen all over the place, and mixing it in with a different color, or trying something else out with it, the remix part of it. That's what I see from it as well. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be a 1-for-1 of what that logo, that jersey that Predators fans are asking for is, but I think it's going to be pretty close. And I think it's something that people are going to be asking a lot for, and something people can get excited for as well. But I'm not sure when all these jerseys get announced, but the NHL has officially announced a series. It's been known for a few months now that it was going to happen. But, those jerseys are coming, and it will be exciting to see which alternate the Predators will end up with. All right, one more segment, which will be the last Locked On Predators mailbag that I will be doing. So sit tight, and we will be right back. All right, so one last Locked On Predators mailbag. I would suggest it after this, but I'm not going to be running it anymore. I'm not going to be hosting this anymore. So I don't know whoever takes over this next would like to do the mailbag. They can, but this is the last one I'm doing. I sent a call out on Twitter on Saturday saying, "Hey, this is the last mailbag I'm doing. If you have anything to say, say it. You know what? I will leave it open. I do one more episode on Wednesday. I record it Tuesday night. If you guys would like to ask anything else at all, if you want to get any last thing through the door, I'll leave it open for that. But let's keep moving. We only have 4 questions here today. From Nate from Milwaukee. If Bruno is out at the end of the season, what do you think about bringing up Carl Taylor to be the next head coach? He's brought the Admirals to the playoffs every year since he started in the 18-19 season, had the league best record in 1920, and were favorites for the Calder Cup before COVID ended the season, and has had 2 conference championship appearances. I personally think he's been overdue for the NHL job, and why not keep him in the system and give him a chance? Valid point. This is a guy that's been talked about a ton, and the name I've heard a ton ever since I got here as well, and rightfully so, and just proving yourself over and over and over again in Milwaukee. You would think he, even just getting a little itchy just to be like, I deserve a chance at the next level, whether it be in Nashville or anywhere else. But, there might be something here that's keeping him here, someone in his ear telling him like, hey, just wait, it will come. The part about that where I kind of stray off is this front office is very new. This is a lot of Chris McFarland hires that are coming into this front office here. And a lot of that, when there's any sort of coaching turnaround, or if there's going to be one in Nashville, is a lot of these GMs like to go with their own guys, and that they'll want to get their own guy coming or what so not. The best example I could think of this and what I saw recently that was very shocking was the Vegas Golden Knights had, talking about the saga of it this year, they ended up firing Bruce Cassidy, which was shocking because the guy is a very good coach and he led him to a Stanley Cup, fired Bruce Cassidy, and then brought on John Tortorella, who was there for, I would say, a cup of tea, but that was a pretty big cup of tea and almost winning a Stanley Cup. And then he was announced he'd not be returning. And instead, they chose to promote the Henderson coach, who Henderson's god awful. Henderson's coach to the head coach role in Vegas. I believe that's how that shook out. It was either way, even if it's not right, they had an interior guy that they promoted up. And a lot of that was because the management in Nashville has been the same for, I think, the majority of their existence, if not their entire existence. So where that comes in here of saying promoting Carl Taylor was, he's a guy that deserves it. He's going to get into those conversations if a situation comes about that Andrew Brunette would be out the door. He would definitely be a candidate that I believe the front office would be talking a lot about. But the thing is that when we're talking realistically about that, Chris McFarland's going to go with a guy that he wants to go with, or, a guy that he knows. He might want to pull out Colorado's coach and saying, hey, come here, coach here, or, possibly get the chance to spin Denver's coach, who we talked about a few episodes ago, that has been there for forever. And he is on every head coach watch list in the NHL every offseason. So, maybe, McFarland would be able to spin that. Overall, I think McFarland's going to go with the guy that he wants to go with. And unfortunately, I don't think Carl Taylor is up on that list until, that relationship is established a little bit more. If Barry Trotz is in charge, I would say that's the next guy in line. But a lot of this coaching selection, the process is very political, and it's a lot of who you know. And I think Carl Taylor will be a great candidate for that. But I bet even more that Chris McFarland, being a new GM in this organization and wanting to navigate this organization the way he does, he's going to find a guy probably from the outside instead of going interior. But thank you, Nate. Great question. All right. From Moose Meat and Catfish. Appreciate your work. Thanks for showing up in the dog days of summer for us. Brief history. I grew up a Kings fan. A few years back, the Kings made some moves that didn't really sit right with me. Jonathan Quick, Agree there. That makes sense. Should have retired there. I live in Ohio, and staying up late to watch 10 p.m. start times was rough, so I decided to switch teams. Columbus being the obvious choice. Go Jackets. Due to the NHL blackouts, I still needed a home team, and that team time 2 seasons ago was between Nashville and New Jersey. I basically flipped a coin, and fang fingers it was. 2 days after Barry signed 3-star Stammer Marche. Couldn't have not been more excited for the team. Woof, that first season was a dumpster fire. You're telling me I was not there. That second season for me was hopeful. How could it get any worse? Then I saw a couple of shining stars on the team leave. Vegas and Minnesota, happy for those guys, but what the hell for Nashville? Then Barry dropped the news of his retirement, not for nothing, but as a fan of the game, I have never really been engaged as a team does a full rebuild. From my limited experience with the Predators, it's very clear that family and legacy go hand in hand. That is very true. There's something about Nashville. Question time. Why does Bruno have a job? It seems the system he wants to run, which is dominant in the NHL right now, is so not the squad we have. With a bold move to acquire CMAC, how much pressure do you think is on Bruno this year? Is a 5-game leash too short? That is way too short, man. To close, as I continue to learn about the franchise history, what are some of your highlights, moments or eras in Predators lore? Oh, gosh. I still believe that having the before mentioned superstars on the team is a boost. I think you meant to say. I don't know if boon's the right word. Guys like Woody, Tanner, Martin, Reed, and Igor, etc., can learn to be real pros of the league. We can't move them, so let's use them in the development of our pipeline. If contracts weren't a consideration, who would you let go of? Some of these guys have real trade value. Thanks again. All right, so Bruno starting to have a job. 5 games is way too short, man. It's going to be that first month. It's going to be all the games through the month. It's going to be no more, no less about the assessment period of it. Chris McFarland's going to give Andrew Bruno a month, and it's going to be about how he shakes out. Anne has said before she feels like 500 is going to keep him safe. I think he needs to be at least 2 or 3 games above 500 in order to keep his job. I think this is a tight leash right now. I don't think it's tight enough as 5 games. I don't think he's suffocating right now, but in my opinion, if he finishes 500 below 500, he's gone. And just the Predators need a faster start. I said on the Locked On NHL podcast, similar to what the Kings and the Blue Jackets did, and they fired their head coaches when they had 500 records. I think it's going to be a similar mentality for the Predators and Bruno and McFarland in that. I think it's fair too. I think the first month, as we've mentioned over and over again, the Predators have struggled to start in the first month over and over again. This is the perfect assessment period. Show this is going to be a different show, that you want to prove that you want your job, and just go out there and compete and show that this is going to be different and turn around, or else you're done. And it's going to be that first month that's going to dictate whether Andrew Brunette stays here or not. Maybe a little bit, some change after that. But I think it's going to be the first month. After that, we're going to see whether or not Andrew Brunette stays. Predators lore. Again, I've only been here for a year. So, in growing up and watching Central Division hockey, there is, let me think off the top of my head. They were really good in the mid 2010s. Obviously, 2017, they had that run to the Stanley Cup final, which was really cool. And, the first time they ever brought it there as well. You have a lot of great defensemen coming in and out of this organization, notably guys like Shea Weber, Roman Josi still here. PK Subban was a fun guy to watch as well. And, you had a Nashville team that was really the peak they hit in the mid 2010s, of where the style that Barry Trotz had been forcing up until last year, of just these big guys helping the team win, really came to fruition in 2017. And it's been on a steady decline ever since then as well. But, this is a team that's always been in the mix. This is a team that has never been, besides not this past season, but the year before that, awful. From my knowledge, excluding the early years, because everybody, with the exclusion of Vegas, is bad in the early years. I think this team, especially in the 2010s, was always in the conversation of being competitive in the Central Division. I think that's what they're trying to get to now, of just trying to redefine what that looks like and how they can fit into that as well, and just be, a competitor within this race too. That's the majority I have of Predators lore. Again, I have not been here very long. I'm still learning things as we go. So I'm still picking up things as well. So there's some good books out there. There's some good YouTube videos, stories to watch. If you go to the game, some great fans to talk to. Watch my episode with Preds again. He has some good stories to talk about too. That's a good guy. When you want to talk about lore, he has a lot of good stuff to talk about. He's a very intricate part of this culture here in Nashville too. And then he had one more question here. If contracts weren't consideration, who you let go of? Some of these guys have real trade value. I have one more episode left. I'm going to say it, Luke Evangelista. I will say it, Luke Evangelista. He has so much trade value, and I know everybody's going to get upset at me. I'm kind of over it at this point because every time I say his name and I say trade attached to it, everybody gets mad. And it's a compliment at the end of the day, too. I'm not saying he's out the door, but he has so much trade value. He's young. He works well with superstars. He's proven himself as a guy that can set superstars up. And I think this year is going to up his trade value more and show his flexibility up and down the lineups and different places he can play. I think this is a guy that has a ton of what's left on the market. I think he's a great marketplace, and I think he's a lot that you can get for. I think he's like 2 degrees off of being a good breakout star and a young piece in this league. He has a ton of trade value, and if you were a smart GM, you'd think about which ways you can shop him. I know nobody wants to hear that. I know Luke Evangelista is a fan favorite. I know he has this following to him, and he's a good player here, but it's a compliment to him. He offers so much to his game. He is young and progressing in a very fast way, and he's special. So, I mean, yes, Nashville hold on to him, but you can get something good back for someone like a Luke Evangelista. And again, I know you guys don't want to hear it, but it's true. It is true. And I'll preach that. I like Luke Evangelista. I think he's a fun guy to watch. He's a great kid to talk to. But let's be real. This is a business. This is a league. He has a lot of trade value to him. Absolutely. And that is who I am going to put as my answer. Write it down. From Kat, let's play armchair GM for a second. We just did. People have said we should have fixed the defense this offseason. I've said that. How would you have went about that based on the market right now? UFAs, RFAs, trades. What would you give up for a trade like that would be enticing enough to get a good piece? Would you be willing to go for? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I didn't read that right. What would you be willing to give up for a good defenseman based on what we have right now? Just say it like that. Yossi stays. I get so that Shea contract you can't get rid of unless you want to pay out. Nobody is dumb enough to take that on. I'd get rid of Haig and Perbix. I think Perbix you can get a lot more. I think if you package them and you can get to one good guy over like a real true top 4 pairing guy, a top pairing guy. I think if you package those two and they're big contracts, and because Nick Hague, I'm sorry. I mean, I've harped on the guy till the cows come home. I've been talking about this ever since a year ago on the hockey news of just, it was a bad trade. It's just, he's a bigger player, and I know Barry Trotz likes that, but he just hasn't offered anything to this team. I think Nick Perbix is a good skater and stuff like that, but he's not what the team needs right now. I package those two and get rid of them and bring over a good piece. There was nothing in the UFA market right now, nothing in the RFA market right now. I trade those to, I don't know, a contender or someone that's borderline or whatever. I can't come up with names off the top of my head right now, but package those two, get them out of there, find a way to get Justin Barron off the books and move a guy up from Milwaukee in there. Oh my God. Or see how well one of the prospects plays and see if they can slide up. I know that's a lot of movement and being like, well, Jack, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, throw Tanner Molendyke into there. See how Ryan Ufco's still not on the projection roster. I don't get that. Have him take on a full-time role. Justin Barron should have not have gotten that extension. I mean, like, I don't know. You have to locate the problem childs in this defensive unit and see how they're going to do. You make Willsby compete for his spot, get Justin Barron out of here, and then move Hagen Perbix out and get either two pieces that are going to work. And you've seen statistically they're going to work and not putting up mediocre numbers as Barry Trotz pulled them in and said, the defense is fixed. No, they were putting up pretty meh numbers where they were. So, I mean, bring on guys that are going to give you at least 30 points from the back end and look for that and get rid of these guys that are putting up teens of points and stuff. You need more scoring from the back end. That's what you want to look for in the market. And I think Haig and Perbix are the most two marketable guys. You're not getting rid of the Shea contract. I think Lyubushkin's a good addition and just providing somebody that is steady and is going to play a traditional style of hockey. Yossi, would not get rid of because I think he has a lot to offer with this team still. Make Willsby compete for a roster spot. Get Ufko in the regular lineup and get Barron out of here. That is how I'd approach that. Thank you, Kat. I always appreciate your questions. Finally, from Vision 9X, been busy with school, but what are your expectations for the Preds this season? Because for me, it's playoffs or nuke the roster. Just have to see how the first 25 games go. And you know what? That's where we're going to end the episode, man, because Vision 9X, my man, faithful to this podcast. Next podcast on Wednesday, my final podcast, I am going to throw it all out there, and I am going to tell you what I think fully this team is going to do next year and what their expectations are going to be and what my prediction is going to be for the final episode. So you know what? Vision 9X, you've been faithful to this mailbag the entire time, and you're going to get a full episode. I did not plan this ending this way, but it lined up perfectly. You're going to get a full episode of me answering this on Wednesday for my final episode on the Locked On Predators podcast. Don't miss out. It's going to be a good one. And yeah, until then, always appreciative of you guys. And thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no offseason, bringing you daily league-wide stories that matter the most with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts at Jack G. Williams on Twitter /X. Jack Williams on the Hockey News Nashville Predators. For now, find us on Twitter at LO_Predators, Facebook and Instagram. We're just Locked On Predators. As always, I'm grateful for y'all, thankful for y'all, appreciative for y'all enjoying the summer, getting along here. And yeah, I will see you on Wednesday for one more together. Until then, thanks for listening to the Locked On Predators podcast, and I will see y'all soon later this week.